conversation. Today's topic was inspired by several conversations I've had this week, one of them with Marcella, but one with a couple of other people. And it is when rest feels impossible. I am going to share this out really quick. I promise I'll hurry up and then we're going to get started. There's a point in my life where I knew I was exhausted, but resting felt like the most irresponsible thing I could possibly do. Not because I didn't want to rest, but because everything in me said, you don't get to stop yet. I wasn't falling apart dramatically. I was still functioning. I was still showing up. I was still helping other people regulate their lives, and yet my body was done long before my brain allowed it to be. And that's the kind of exhaustion that doesn't announce itself loudly. It can sometimes just creep up on you. And sometimes we ignore it until we can't. My name is Jamie. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology, a master's degree in Christian counseling and substance abuse and addictive disorders. I completed my master's degree internship inside the Arizona State prison system, and I was a licensed counselor for about 4 years. So there's a little caveat that comes with that. I am no longer a licensed counselor, but if I was still a licensed counselor, I wouldn't be able to be your counselor because I'm just some rando on the internet, okay? So anything that I say here is my experience, my opinion, and open discussion and education. Nothing here should be substituted for therapy at all. And if you do feel like you might need therapy, there are lots of resources out there for you, 988 being one of them. Yes, that is a crisis line, but it is also used for referrals, okay? You can also go to SAMHSA's website, SAMHSA, and get more information there if you're in the US or Canada. After working in the prison system, I moved on to work with children and families. Many, though not all, were involved in DCS custody. And if you've ever worked in that space, you can know how heavy that gets. Eventually, I burned out. I had 110 kids on my caseload by the time I left. 110 kids. Our caseload was supposed to be no more than 25. Shifted again, this time kind of pivoting and working with adults in a group home setting, supporting people with dual diagnoses, and that is addiction and mental health disorders. But there's a little part that people don't always talk about in the helping professions, and one is you can be deeply trained, deeply capable, and deeply committed and still completely depleted. So I would say I had a lot going on, but I also had a midlife crisis and was not what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I didn't find that out till I was almost 40 years old. So I sort of had a moment where I realized I can't keep surviving my way through meaningful work. I wanted to write. I wanted to be my authentic self. I wanted to tell my story, share the truth. And so I also wanted to stop pretending that rest was something that I could earn later, right? There is no bank when you're exhausted. If you bankrupt your bank, it's really hard on you and your body. And I got sick a lot. And so I've really tried to work very hard, especially in this last year, in learning to say no. And that's why this important topic to me, that's why this topic is important to me tonight, guys. As you can see, I'm a little backwards because I haven't done this in a minute, but thanks for bearing with me. Anywho, so we fast forward now. Here I am on TikTok. I do run my own creator network, but I also talk about mental health each and every week, with the exception of last week, 6 p.m. Tuesday nights, Arizona time, 8 p.m. Eastern time. These lives are edited and reposted on podcast platforms and the YT, and they turn conversations into something people can listen to that I wish I would have heard years ago. Tonight's live is about when rest feels impossible. We're going to talk about why rest feels like failure in a hustle-driven culture, how capitalism wires our nervous systems to fear slowing down, the difference between being tired and truly depleted, and why waiting until burnout happens is not resilience, that is survival mode, and what real restorative rest actually looks like. And I just want to tell you a hint. It's not always what we call relaxing. We're also going to talk about permission, because most people don't need more productivity tips. They need permission to stop treating exhaustion like a personal flaw. If you're listening and thinking, this is me, but I can't really afford to rest right now, this conversation is for you. You don't have to earn the right to be tired, and rest does not mean that you're failing. Sometimes it just means that you're listening. So let's talk about it. Now, let's name the real problem first, because if we don't name it, we tend to keep blaming ourselves. Rest doesn't feel impossible because you're bad at it. It feels impossible because your nervous system has been trained to interpret rest as a threat. Most people think exhaustion comes from doing too much, but the deeper issue is really this. We don't feel safe when we have to slow down. Is that because of all the instant gratification that the internet has given us over the last 20 years? I don't know. You guys can tell me what you think in the comments if you want, but safety to your nervous system is predictability, control, and perceived usefulness. And many of us learned early on that being useful was how we stayed safe. Okay, no worries. Thank you so much. All right. So when rest shows up, it does not register as relief. It registers as risk. Risk of falling behind, risk of disappointing someone, risk of losing momentum, income, relevance, identity. None of these are character flaws, okay? That is conditioning. That is conditioning that we've had since our childhood. So we're going to do a real quick audience check-in, and you can unmute if you want, or you can drop it in the chat. When you try to rest, what comes up first for you? Guilt, anxiety, boredom, or restlessness? Just pick one word, drop it in the chat. And if none of those fit, put the one that fits for you. Boredom. I think boredom gets me a lot of the time too. Restlessness and broken. All right. Okay. So hustle culture didn't just sell us productivity, it sold us belonging. It told us if you're tired, you're not trying hard enough. Sleep is a crutch. I used to hear that one all the time. Sleep is a crutch. If you slow down, someone else will replace you. And in some cases that can be true. And that's like bullshit, right? Over time, the other one is if you stop, you'll lose everything you've built. Over time, your body learns, I've got to stay in motion to survive. And it causes anxiety within us. So even when you're exhausted, stillness can still feel dangerous. And this is why people say things like, I can't relax. I feel anxious when I try. I'll rest later after this is done. I don't know how to stop. That is not laziness. That is the nervous system stuck in high alert. And I can tell you one thing that works for me. Again, my experience, not advice. I can't meditate unless I set a timer to sit still for 30 seconds, then 1 minute, then 2 minutes, and then I'm finally relaxed enough that I'm not fidgeting the whole time. You guys have watched me enough to know that I move around a lot. And it drives me crazy because sometimes I just want my brain to turn off. I've also been journaling a lot, and that helps me turn my brain off at night. So definitely 5 out of 5 recommend. I just asked, we try not to talk over people. Has anyone here ever sat down to rest and felt more anxious instead of relaxed? If that's you, type me in the chat if you're in the chat, or unmute yourself. I know I have.
Trying to relax always makes me feel anxious.
And I think there's something to that. I'm going to share this too. If I can't sleep and I wake up and all I can think about is that I can't sleep and I get madder and madder and madder, is that making me fall asleep? No, it's actually waking me up, right? Because now my adrenaline is going. Thank you so much, Steph. Thank you guys for all the gifts. So I have found that I'll just go, okay, I'm going to read until I get tired enough to fall back asleep. Or if it's close enough to when I need to be up, I'll just get up and start my day and take a nap if I have to. Because if we are anxious and we are not processing that or trying to ignore it, it does actually wake us up more. I think when you're feeling anxious, journaling works. Whether you use your phone's notepad or writing it out on a piece of paper, I'll have to talk about this another day, but journaling is transforming my life right now. I am making better decisions just because I'm journaling. And for those of you who don't know, I'm actually in a class that Marcella puts on, and her class kind of started me on that journey. I'll talk to you about it offline if you guys want to know more about it. But yes, journaling is changing my freaking life. I think we've all had a moment where we sit down to rest and we can't because we're anxious, right? And I think part of that is normal, but I also think, like, I'm trying to think back to when I was in school I could focus so much better than we can now. And I really think it's these. These make it hard to rest. If you don't put the phone down, it keeps your it keeps your brain going. And my husband's had to actually get on my case lately and tell me, like, can you just get off the phone, because I think that's why you're up half the night. And that's true. So the difference between tired and depleted. What do you think the difference between being tired and depleted is? I think the difference is you can be tired and still get up and function. Maybe you stayed up a little bit too late. You can be depleted and struggle to focus. And it's not because you have so much going on. It's because, where do I start? Or have I even had enough rest? I can't process anything. So, we can laugh about this, but this week I was trying to talk with some of the mentors, right? And there were so many typos. And then I was saying things that weren't very clear. And then finally I was like, you know what? I need to stop working and just like deal with this tomorrow. And somebody was like, yeah, you need to just stop working. That's depleted. That's depleted. That's what an example of depleted is. And I'm probably not as depleted as I would be if I didn't have somebody saying, get the fuck out of here with that shit. And I am getting better, because I used to just push through, but it was killing the amount of things I was getting done. Like, my moods were horrible. It was like, I was like Chicken Little, running around with my, the sky is falling. There's all this stuff happening and I can't get anything done. Well, I couldn't get anything done because I wasn't resting enough to process any of those things. Here's a distinction that changes everything, going back to what the difference is between being tired and depleted. And that is, being tired means you need rest. You need sleep. You need maybe even a little time alone could be rest, right? Being depleted also means that your rest has been postponed for entirely too long. When you're just tired, rest feels appealing. Yeah, I think I'll take a 15-minute nap. That'll be fine, right? When you're depleted, taking time to rest or nap feels overwhelming or stressful, because you're like, oh my God, I have all these things that I need to be doing, but I'm resting instead. And you have to condition that behavior out of yourself. And I say this as somebody who's it's been a process. It's taking years. I used to sit here and be like, I feel guilty because I'm reading a book right now. Why the fuck do I feel guilty? I just worked since 4:30 in the morning till 1 o'clock and forgot to eat. Why do I feel guilty? Did not happen today. Please don't come for me, folks. But, that's the kind of thing that I was doing. And it was like, I'm feeling guilty for taking a nap. I should have been feeling guilty for not taking a nap, because I wasn't as quality as I could have been. And when you're depleted and rest feels overwhelming or stressful, that's when people say to themselves, or I don't even know what would help. I'm exhausted, but nothing sounds good. I rest, but I don't feel better. At that stage, your system isn't asking for a vacation. It is asking you to regulate, right? It is asking you to regulate. It is saying, can you please at least get on some sort of schedule so that I am not exhausted all the time? And regulation requires rest, not productivity. Regulation requires rest, not productivity. Did you know that if you're awake 20 hours or more and you're driving, your brain is processing the same as somebody who's driving around with alcohol above the legal limit? Did you know that? Yeah, it may actually be worse. Yes, because some people, and I'm not condoning it, but some people might be more awake when they have alcohol. And when you're tired, you're at more risk for falling asleep. So, to me, it's probably as dangerous. Yeah, so if you're not sleeping, it is dangerous to be operating heavy machinery, right? It's just, and the difference is, we kind of normalize it. We kind of normalize like, oh, I just did an 18-hour shift. I'm cool to drive. Mind you, you probably got up maybe an hour or two before you had to work, and maybe you have a commute home. So that's why, rest matters. I want you to be honest with yourself for a moment. And if you feel comfortable, I want you to answer this question in the chat, or if you're on the panel, unmute. Are you tired, or are you feeling depleted? You don't have to explain if you don't want to, but does anybody feel like they're tired versus depleted, or does everybody feel like, hey, I've got some balance? I'm curious to know.
I think I'm depleted.
Okay, that's fair. So, what are you gonna do? I'm gonna put you on the spot now, but only because I love you and you know me. What are you gonna do so that you're not depleted? Because I know part of it's emotional, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what are you gonna do so you're not depleted? What are you gonna do for yourself? And it doesn't have to be relax. Are you gonna take? Are you gonna go to
My
bed at a decent
therapist has
hour?
me. No, sleeping doesn't help me.
Okay.
Sleeping doesn't help me. My therapist has me starting to write a trigger journal and a dump and destroy thing to help
I
empty my
like that
mind.
idea, actually. I like that idea. Some of the ways that we gain our regulation back is processing stuff. So thank you for sharing that, by the way, because that's pretty vulnerable. Some of the ways that we gain our regulation back is writing. I think that's why I love to write, but I've been like, oh, I can't write. I'm in a slump. You know why? Because I wasn't learning enough about me. And I think that that's why for myself, like I said, it may not work for everyone. The journaling is telling me so much about myself. Like I came to a realization today.
How about recognizing negative patterns so that you make better ones?
Yes, recognizing negative patterns is great. I outgrew the box they put me in. I outgrew the box they put me in. And I sat here today and I was like, and it came to me like, oh my God, where did that come from? I needed to hear that for myself. That is one of those things that I'm trying to do to re-regulate myself. So for those of you who don't know me, I have a very chaotic life. And the more I try to get away from the chaos, the more I swear to God that shit chases me. You know, every time I think I'm out, they pull me back in. Yeah, that kind of thing, stuff. What I have to do to keep myself kind of in check is really process, am I overwhelmed right now? Am I anxious? Am I irritable? And why am I trying to let certain things hold me back? Because that's why I'm so exhausted. That's why I'm feeling depleted. I am losing focus. I'm trying to do too much at once, those types of things. And sometimes we have to recognize that we outgrew the people around us. And I say this because some of you here, most of you here, are creators. You are going to outgrow people, and it is going to hurt because some people you're like, oh my God, they're so near and dear to me. But you are going to outgrow people, and you can still be friends with them. That doesn't mean you can't be friends, but you have to come into your own. You have to blossom. I used to call everybody in the agency my little seedlings. Like, I'm going to put some little water on you, and you're going to grow, and you're going to blossom. And I was the seedling. I was my own seedling. I needed to get in some sun and get some water and take care of myself so that I could learn that I was outgrowing things that worked for me 3 months ago, but don't now. Also talk about the fact that I try to do too many things at once because I see a lot of you, not singling anybody out, but I see a lot of people doing it. And it's not just you guys that I know. I see a lot of people trying to do, I want to do this, and I want to do this, and I want to do this, and I want to do this. Let's just get one thing going and successful and then add something else. It took me 5 years of being, almost 5 years of being in business to finally fucking learn that. Okay, because I was depleted for 4 years going, I need to do this and I need to do that. And you know what? By focusing on one thing, I have tripled my revenue, and I'm not making money. I'm just breaking even. So that is why rest matters, because when you're depleted, you end up in a lot of debt for sleep, emotions, family, things you enjoy. And I'm not talking about debt. I'm talking about not taking care of yourself puts you in a physical debt. Your body is like, give me a break. Give me a break. All right. Why does rest start to feel like failure? Well, again, this comes back to that conditioning we had as children, right? Some of us, or a lot of us, have internalized the belief that rest is a reward, not a requirement. You can rest when your homework's done. You can rest when your job's done. And you tend to feel, even when it's appropriate for you to get rest. So many of us internalize the belief that rest is a reward and not a requirement. Okay. And that's something that's been conditioned in us since we were child. right? Or going into the workspace, right? Or for me, honestly, it was get your homework done and then you can go to bed, right? And so even though it wasn't intended to be that way, that's how I was conditioned. So if you haven't earned it, rest feels undeserved. Guilt can show up immediately. Especially how many of us have been new moms? Sorry guys, but how many of us have been new moms, right?
Even when I'm not a new mom,
Yes, like my sleep has
I feel
never been the
guilty for
same.
resting.
Yes.
No.
Yeah. And you think your kids will grow up and move out and you'll get your sleep back. You don't. You don't. I'm working on that though.
Ever.
Yeah. You know, I'm working on it, but it's like sometimes even your adult children, you have to bite your tongue and be like, are you effing kidding me right now? Like, you're stressing me out, right? So sometimes I have to really set limits with myself about worrying about other people's problems, but that's a whole other thing. You never sleep the same because you get up with that baby all the time, and depletion is kind of the same thing. It messes with your sleep so much that you just get used to it. You just learn to survive. You just learn to get through it. Are you really going to do this right now? And you tell yourself, these are things we tell ourselves that they may be true, but they aren't relative to us. Other people have it worse. I should be able to handle this. I'm just being dramatic, which sometimes we are just being dramatic, right? Sometimes we are just being dramatic. And the internal dialogue, that internal dialogue is working against us as well, right? Because we're making excuses for why we're not resting. Instead of just saying, look, I worked 60 hours this week. The kids are driving me fucking nuts and I don't know how I'm going to pay my rent. I need a goddamn nap. We're like, other people have it worse. At least I have a roof over my head. Platitudes are not going to make you feel less depleted. We have to condition ourselves to stop and say, you know what? I don't need to earn this nap. My body says I'm tired. I'm taking a fucking nap, even if it's 10 minutes. I have a question. Well, okay. The internal dialogue is not, that internal dialogue that we just discussed is not going to make you stronger. When rest is framed as failure, the body has only one option left. It's going to shut down. How many people get sick when they take time off work? I don't anymore, but I used to. Every time I took a vacation, I would get sick. Every time we had a 4-day holiday, I would get sick. You know why? You know what that means? Your body's been running on adrenaline for so long that by the time you take a break, it's like, oh, finally I can recover, and you get sick. See, there's several of you. Okay, so we're all guilty together at least.
I get sick every vacation too. Every single one.
Yes. And that's and sometimes it's things we can't control, right? Because sometimes, you know, I swear to God, for 4 years, I hit the ground running every single day because I had so much going on. I'm finally out of that stage of life, thank God. But every time we went anywhere, I would get sick, even if it was just a head cold. Do you know I didn't get the C word, the pandemic word, till we were like 3 years into it? And then finally it hit me. I was so fucking proud of myself. I didn't get sick. I didn't get sick. Yeah, guess what? When a bitch quit her job because she was stressed out, she finally got hit with it. I never got it because I was stressed out so badly the entire time. My body was like, oh, that was the solution, but it didn't help me. It didn't help me. Rest is important. And rest is important not only to your health, but to your overall well-being. Not just your mental health, your overall well-being, your physical well-being. But who taught you directly or indirectly that resting meant being lazy or weak? I'll tell you who taught me. The people I worked with when I was in the military. Oh, sleep is the crutch. Sleep is the crutch. Okay, yeah, when you're in a combat zone. But not when you're stateside fucking cleaning shit in the motor pool. Culture can play a role. You know, as a whole, we are not a collectivist culture. We are very individualistic. So we tend to try to be better than the next person. Instead of working in unity, we try to compete with the people around us. And I'm not saying competition hurts. And I'm not saying that being a community is the solution. But I do think that some of those things factor into why we forget about ourselves. And I will tell you, I sometimes take care of other people more than I take care of myself. In 2026, Jamie has been saying no left and fucking right. And you want to know what? I feel so much better. Even on the days when I wake up and I'm tired, I feel so much better. You know that I went into Canada Live. She's like, you sound like you're really rested. I was. I felt like I had slept the best sleep I've slept in a long time. My watch said my sleep score was 50%, but I felt like I slept 100%. That's how much rest makes an impact on, and I got so much done this week. Last week was like, I need to get this done. I need to get this done. And then I need to, one thing at a time, one thing at a time. Do you know that focusing on one thing at a time instead of having 5 different things going actually gets more done? I didn't know that till this week, but I do now. And I can multitask on some things, but you know, you can't file your taxes and homeschool and take your dogs for a walk and try to answer your emails and phone and everything else, right? What we need to do to uncondition is something that they like to say in psychology, reframe, right? Now remember, this is just my opinion and education and not advice, okay? But I will share what worked for me. We want to reframe. Rest is not quitting, rest is not giving up, and rest is not a sign of weakness. Rest is a form of resistance against systems that profit from your exhaustion. And think about it, these systems profit from your exhaustion. Overtime. Do you know that there used to not be overtime? You used to work 6 days a week, right? You would have Sunday off for rest. They didn't start paying overtime, I want to say until like the late 50s. I'm going to have to look. And you were paid because they decided that 40 hours was a standard work week. And now they've done studies that show 4 10-hour days is probably better for most people than 5 8-hour days. And that you'd be better off with 3 days. You know, is it France where they take naps? They do the siesta in the middle of the day, right? These are things that are derived from what our body needs. And because people want their bottom dollar, you know, people work themselves to death. This is why I'm very, very like entrepreneurship focused for those who want to do their own thing and not work for people. I don't think I'm employable. I don't think I'll ever be employable again. A couple of reasons. One being, I don't do well if you're doing something wrong. I don't do well with that. I have a really hard time with that. And I won't shut the fuck up. Like if I was in the government and I worked for the FBI, they would have to, you know, smirk me because I would have totally leaked those Epstein files a long time ago. I'm just saying. I have this really bad problem with people who don't have ethics. Rest is a form of resistance against systems that profit from your exhaustion. It is how you protect your long-term capacity. And one thing I've been really trying to say lately is not I'm tired, not I'm exhausted, not I'm overwhelmed. I'm at capacity. You know what that means? When I'm at capacity, it means I am full. I am full. There's nothing else that can go into that. I am full like the glass. Nothing else can go into this glass. Because if I say I'm tired or I'm overwhelmed, words have power. I'm going to be more tired. I'm going to feel overwhelmed. But if I say I'm full, that just means I can't take anything more on right now. I'm at capacity. So I want you guys to think about stuff like that. Whatever works for you. I'm at capacity. Because you have to protect your long-term capacity. You're only on this earth for so long. You don't want to give up time with your children and your family because you're too busy working. And this is something that I'm even scheduling in to my life now. My daughter came to me yesterday and said, when are we going to do something again? Well, I said, you know what? I have 2 hours tomorrow I can give you. Let's go get ice cream. And she was like, really? And I'm like, yeah, let's go get ice cream. It is okay to schedule time with your kids. In fact, I encourage it. You don't want to blow it. They're only going to be kids for so long. And then we got done with ice cream. And she's like, can I go to the park? I don't want to go. I don't like the people. But I was like, well, let's take a little cruise first and then we'll go to the park. And we did. And you know what? The 10 minutes in the car where she talked my ear off about all the stuff she's doing, I was like, you know what? She's not going to want to do this forever. It's important. So these are things that can help us balance when we're depleted. Because you know what? I kind of needed the afternoon break today. It was a kind of weirdly busy day, right? I needed that break today. And if I would have not taken her, I would have worked straight through those 2 hours anyway. And I would probably be so tired I wouldn't have wanted to go live tonight. But by my daughter saying, can we go do something, and us going to get ice cream, it broke up the monotony, but it also gave me time with somebody I love and care about and who deserves my time. And that is not a weakness. Taking time for family, that could be part of your rest. You want to have a movie night? That could be part of your rest. You want to be fully engaged with them. I have gotten to where I was so busy that I wouldn't even look up from my phone. And now if she comes in here and she needs something, I put the phone down and I look at her because I will not remember anything if I am not looking at her. These are all little things that you can do throughout your day to help your brain get a little bit of regulation. And I know I'm starting to sound like a preacher. All right, if rest wasn't something you had to earn, what would you let yourself do differently this week? I now understand I don't have to earn rest. If somebody comes to me and wants to hang out with me, that is going to be my rest. You know, and going to the park, getting out in the sun. I mean, I'm still pasty as all hell, but, you know, some of y'all don't even have sun where you are. No worries, Tina, no worries. Real rest actually is. Slow down, yes. What rest actually is. Not everything that feels relaxing is restorative. So scrolling on your phone, doom scrolling, that's not actually resting. Especially if you're a content creator, it's not actually resting. You know that I have started where I get up in the morning and hit everybody's lives as much as I can. Because if I do it at 8 o'clock at night, I will not go to bed till midnight. Okay, that is not rest. That is not rest. If you're going to do things like scrolling to start your day, you need to do it early. Don't do it when you're trying to go to bed. That's not rest. Scrolling is not rest. It's stimulating. It's stimulating. And we talked about this. TikTok specifically, as much as we're all here and we're here to make money on it, right? The algorithm is designed to give you that dopamine hit every time you scroll. Every time you scroll. And binge watching while you're dissociated is not rest. It's avoidance. And I'm not talking about you're Jamie or you're Canada and you got to do something while you're watching TV. Like I have to take notes if I'm in a class, even if I don't really need the notes, because otherwise I can't hear what they're saying. Like my brain just doesn't process. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you're sitting here and you're like, I have all this shit to do. I didn't get anything done today. I'm going to look at my phone. That's dissociation. You're separating yourself from what you didn't do so you don't have to think about it. It's almost, I would say it borders on addiction, right? Because oftentimes, even if we didn't come into substance use to enjoy ourselves, we are trying to avoid something, right? So, and I think we want more and more and more and more. Even going live. I've seen people, thank you so much, that have gotten I have gotten up, and this is before I even had a network, okay? So I'm not talking about any of you guys. I would get up in the morning and there was this woman I knew and she was online. And when I went to bed at night, she was online. And she might get off live and go on other people's lives and do stuff like that. You can burn yourself out. I understand we're here, we want to make money, we want to achieve goals, but we have to make sure we're resting, right? Because you're going to come through that screen and if you look tired and you sound miserable, nobody's going to want to come hang out with you. And I'm not being mean. Nobody's going to want to come hang out with you if you're like, hi guys, what's up? I feel like shit. I'm so exhausted. Like, misery loves company, and sometimes people don't want to commiserate with you. They come here to unwind or be entertained, and you're like, ugh. You know what I mean? Not everything that feels relaxing is restorative. Binge watching while dissociated isn't rest. Staying busy with easy tasks is not rest. You will still be having output, right? So if I'm on the phone with somebody I don't like, this is when I do my menial tasks. I say that like that happens a lot, but there's only 2 people who call me that I don't like. And I will delete emails. So that I have something to do while I'm listening to them ramble, right? And if they were people I could avoid, I would, but I can't. So that is still output. If I go to bed and say, I'm just going to delete shit. No, your brain is still processing. You need to be doing things like read a book, read a magazine, listen to music. I want to say watch TV, but if you're going to binge watch, then don't do it. If you're like me and you put on Forensic Files and that shit puts you to sleep, then fine, go for it. Okay, but you have to do something that is going to relax you. Rest is anything that returns you to yourself. Journaling, music, walking, soaking in the tub, reading a book, hiding from your kids in the bathroom, and eating a bag of chips so they don't come and try to ask you for some. Whatever it is, whatever it looks like for you, okay? Sometimes it is stillness. Sometimes it's movement without performance. Sometimes it's silence. Sometimes it's doing nothing. Sometimes it's doing, there are days where like my husband's like, oh, I'll take Jazz out so like you can have some peace and quiet, get some stuff done. You know what I do? I enjoy the silence. Sometimes I don't work. I don't want them to know that because I don't want them to stop doing it. But sometimes that's my moment where I do nothing because it's like, no dogs barking, nobody asking me anything, TV's not going. That whatever it looks like for you, that's what you need to do. Okay? Often those little things can make such a big difference. You got to start small. If you can't stay still for 1 minute just to enjoy the silence, try setting a timer for 30 seconds. If that's what you have to do. Because when you're depleted, your nervous system does not trust big rest. So you've been conditioned for so long to do things that way, you are going to have to slowly integrate rest back into your life. Okay? So those small steps are how you get the bigger steps. What actually helps you feel a little bit more like yourself? Not what you think should help, but what really does help. You can give me one-word answers on this in the chat. Anybody? What helps you feel a little more like yourself? Mine is music. Mine is music. No matter what mood I'm in, if I put on the right album, I will be in such a good mood, whether I'm already happy or whether I'm having a shit day. Music gets me every fucking time. Because music is relatable. Planning rest matters. It is okay to plan rest even when you have a full calendar. Music in a hot bath, talking to a friend. I love it. I love it. Talking to a friend's pretty up there because there's been a few times I've called somebody and been like, I'm having a shit fucking day and I don't know what I'm gonna do. And I call somebody that I love. I call a friend, whatever, and they put me in a good mood. So talking to a friend, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. If rest only happens when you collapse, it is a crisis response. A crisis response. If you are only getting rest because you finally got sick or you finally collapsed from exhaustion, planned rest says, I don't wait until I'm broken to listen. I listen now. My husband says, put the fucking phone down. He's telling me you are not recognizing that you need rest, but I am. So please, he doesn't cuss at me, by the way. Please put the phone down and take a break. So I just want to clarify that he doesn't cuss at me. Do not wait until you are broken to listen to your body. You need to intervene early. And I want you to make these I statements. So when you're feeling overwhelmed, I want you to say, you don't have to, remember, just education. I respect my limits before my body enforces them. I am going to rest for me. My body is telling me to rest. It is not selfish to take care of yourself. It is not selfish to ignore that phone ringing because you need a fucking nap. It's not selfish, and we need to stop letting ourselves think we have to answer the phone because we're here. Somebody rang our doorbell the other day. I have no soliciting sign up. We charge $50 a minute if you ring the doorbell. We need the payment up front. I have stop knocking on the door and making it weird. If you're not UPS or food delivery, like fuck off. It's nicer than that, but people still come and knock on the fucking door. And one day my daughter comes up to me and she's like, are you gonna answer that? And I said, no, just because I'm here doesn't mean I have to answer. You do not have to answer your phone. Just because we're accessible 24/7 doesn't mean you have to be accessible 24/7. And I am probably aging myself. It was Mormons or Jehovah's Witnesses or something. They no soliciting sign. It drives me crazy. I grew up when we had like phones connected to the wall. I think some of us in here probably did. My mom still has the fucking rotary phone that was my grandmother's, okay? Like when you had to get the phone book out and mom went to run errands and brother split his head open in the middle of the day and you had to try to figure out where in her errand she was. So you'd have to call each place trying to see if she was there, okay? Because we didn't have these. I was in that era. So I know what it's like to live without a phone. And I think it's okay to detox from our devices. It is okay to say, I'm taking 24 hours off of social media. That's okay. Even if you're a creator, I don't care if it hurts you in the algorithm. If you need a break, you need a break. You do not need money or algorithm points more than you need your health. I respect my limits before my body enforces them. That is not indulgence. That is self-leadership, right? Self-leadership, especially if you're an entrepreneur. You don't have anybody to help you sometimes, right? You can't just call off sick. So you have to take care of yourself when you have the opportunity. So you take that nap, take that bath, take that walk, go spend time with your child, your grandchild, whatever it is. That is going to help you more than it's going to hurt you to take that time. What's one rest boundary that you would like to protect this week? You do not have to answer if you don't want to, but if you want to answer, put it in the chat. Even if it's 5 minutes, what is one boundary that you could protect this week? Wednesdays are crazy. So sometimes I just say, guys, I can't even be online today. So I'll see you when I see you. And there are days where my schedule frees up and I just take a nap instead. I don't care if you guys know. I'm not lying to anybody. If my schedule frees up, I'm taking a nap. So yeah, taking a break is good. I love that. I love that, Maddie. I'm going to wrap it up and then we're going to do little comments and Q&A. And then if you're listening and thinking, I cannot rest right now because the entire world depends on me, I need you to hear me when I say this, okay? You do not need permission to be tired and you need to stop trying to wait until later to get some rest. Do it now. Do it now. Do it now. I do not care. Do it now. You do not need to justify your exhaustion. You do not need to justify why you're taking a break. You don't even have to tell people you're taking a break. Now, if you're around me, I'm going to text you and say, are you good? Are you good? It's okay. You answer me when you're done with your break. I'm just checking to make sure you're good. You answer me when you're done with your break. I had somebody that I didn't hear from them for like 2 or 3 weeks. She finally texted me. She's like, I don't know why I ghost everyone when I'm, so busy. I said, I just wanted to make sure you were fine. I don't take your break, do your thing. That's okay. I just want to make sure you're okay. You will hear from me. Especially if you're in my circle, you'll hear from me. I'll be like, where have you been? And it's never, where have you been? Because I want to know why you're not live. It's, where have you been? Are you okay? Because I am so adamant that we have to take breaks that even my own people call me out on it if I don't. And you do not have to hit rock bottom to slow down. We don't have to wait until we collapse. We don't have to wait till we're in the hospital. We do not have to wait until we fall asleep behind the wheel of our car. You can do this now. This is preventable. This is preventable. Rest does not mean you don't care about other people. Rest means you care about yourself. It means you stop sacrificing yourself to prove to others that you can do it. Take care of you, period. If this conversation helps you feel a little less alone, I would love to hear your thoughts. And if you just had to hear me rant about how you need a fucking break and I don't see you for 3 days, I get it. You listened to me and you took my advice and that's okay too. Focus on one fucking thing at a time. One thing at a time. Because if I've been down so many rabbit holes, like I could try this, I could try that, I could try this. And then I end up shooting myself in the foot, literally. If you wanna go live and you wanna make money, then go live and make money. If you wanna go an underwater basket weave, then underwater basket weave. But you gotta master one before you add to it. And and that's hard for me. I have ADHD. I want one of every color. Okay? I want one. You should see my drink collections get really out of hand. I will sit here with a bottle of water, a soda, a Circle K cup, electrolyte drink. It's ridiculous. Okay. Jamie really struggles with stuff like that. But you know what? I am focusing so much more by just doing one thing at a time. And do you guys know what that one thing is right now? Does anybody know? How can I nurture my creators if I'm focused on everything else, right? So I am focusing on me. Yes. But why did I start all of this? I started this because I wanted to make an impact. How can I make an impact? By helping you. So that is why I went from lives every day to lives 3 times a week to lives once a week. I'd rather do these once a week, do my little mental health chat, and then show up to all of your lives, whether it's helping you with games, helping you manage your room, helping you mod, what the fuck. If I am helping you, I am nurturing you. And if I am nurturing you, someday you'll spread your little wings and be on your own, but I helped you get there like I'm supposed to. And if I get distracted from that, you're going to hurt. And my goal is nobody slips through the cracks. And if I get too distracted, you're going to slip through the cracks. Well, no thoughts, no comments, no questions. We do this every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. You could have been anywhere else and you're here with me. Have a good night.